echo of forgotten rooms. Samuel Carter never thought that returning to his hometown would lead him to such a place. The old mansion on the outskirts of Hartford had been abandoned for decades, and the locals bypassed it. But for Sam, it was more than just an old house. It was an opportunity to understand the strange events that haunted his family from generation to generation. When he first approached the house, the windy cold seemed to pass through it. The paint on the facade peeled off, the shutters were hanging on the hinges, and the windows were covered with a layer of dust, through which light barely penetrated. "Well, let's see what's left here," Sam muttered, pushing the creaking door. There was silence inside, broken only by the creak of the floorboards underfoot. The smell of raw wood was mixed with the flavor of oblivion. The walls kept the scars of time, the wallpaper was peeling off in places, and the paintings on the walls hung crookedly, as if someone was trying to hide them. Sam raised the lantern, illuminating the corridor. Each room revealed its secrets: dusty armchairs covered with sheets, old cabinets in which you could find anything, from a forgotten letter to a family photo. But the further he went, the more he felt the presence of something invisible. He noticed the door at the end of the long corridor. It was massive, with carved patterns, and obviously rarely opened. Sam felt a strange attraction, as if the house itself wanted him to come in. Pushing the door, he found himself in a room that no one seemed to have visited for decades. In the center stood a table with a dust lamp, and on the walls hung old mirrors. Sam approached one of them and saw not only his reflection, but also a slight flicker in the corner of the room, as if the shadow was moving independently of him. "Who's here?" he said out loud, although he knew that there was no one else at home. The answer was only a slight creak underfoot and a whisper, barely audible, as if coming from the walls themselves. "Don't leave." Sam froze. He couldn't understand where the voice was coming from, but his heart tightened with anxiety. He came closer to the mirror and noticed that something was flashing in the reflection that wasn't in the room. The shadow, dark and indistinct, stood behind him. Sam turned around abruptly. The corridor was empty. But the feeling of presence did not leave him. He felt the house watching his every move, like a living organization keeping its secrets. Sam knew he couldn't just leave. Something in this house was waiting for him, and it depended on his courage to solve the secrets that haunted his family for many years. It was from that moment that the old mansion began to open its forgotten rooms, whispers and secrets, which did not want to leave the walls until someone heard their echo. The next morning, Sam returned to the mansion, taking a flashlight and a notebook with him. He felt that the answers he had been looking for so long were hidden in the house, and now determination was stronger than fear. The house greeted him with a familiar creak of floorboards and cold air soaked in dust and musty. Every room he visited seemed frozen in time. There were forgotten letters, photos and old books on the tables, and the mirrors reflected not only his own face, but also something invisible, lurking in the shadows. Sam noticed a door at the far end of the corridor, locked with an old copper lock. There were scratches on the floor in front of her, as if someone was trying to get inside. His heart tightened. He realized that the key to the secrets of the house was hidden behind this door. Taking the lock, Sam noticed an old inscription on the wall, barely distinguishable in the dim light. "Who seeks must see the truth and meet the shadow." The whispers intensified, becoming clearer. They sounded simultaneously from all corners of the house, the quiet voices of people he had never seen, but whose emotions were clearly audible. Joy, fear, sadness, all mixed into an ominous symphony. Sam opened the door. She led him to a long corridor leading to the forgotten part of the house. The floors creaked with every step, and the walls were covered with cracks and strange symbols. There was another door at the end of the corridor, and quiet, almost human sounds were heard behind it, as if someone was breathing, but no one could be seen. He carefully opened the door and saw an old living room. Here, on the old chair, was a diary. Sam came up and opened it, reading the notes made more than a century ago. The diary belonged to Joseph Miller, the previous owner of the house, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The records said that the house kept the memory of everyone who had ever lived in it. Joseph tried to understand the strange phenomena that took place here, but it seems that he himself became part of these secrets. In the last entry he wrote, "Shadows here live longer than us. Whoever opens the doors must be ready to hear the whispers of the past and meet himself." Sam felt the cold run down his back. He looked at the mirror in the corner of the room and saw the reflection not only of his face, but also the slight movement of the shadow that flashed next to him. "It's impossible," he muttered. Whispers intensified, becoming more and more persistent. They said the same thing. "Go ahead. Don't stop." Sam realized that the house was leading him. Every forgotten room, every whisper, every shadow, all this was part of the path he had to go through to understand the secret hidden in the walls of the old mansion. He stepped forward and entered the corridor leading to another door. Now fear and curiosity are mixed into one feeling, the feeling that he is close to the clue, but does not know what the next turn will lead to. Sam moved deeper into the house, feeling every room come alive in his presence. The floorboards creaked underfoot, the walls whispered, and shadows played strange shapes in the corners of his eyes. He felt as if the house wasn't just holding memories, but was watching his every step. In one room, he noticed an old desk. On it lay a note, yellowed with age. "Listen to the whispers. They tell more than words. Only the brave can proceed." Sam felt a strange pull toward the mirror in the corner of the room. He moved closer and saw his reflection slowly change. His face in the mirror seemed older, his eyes deeper and filled with sadness. He stepped back, but the reflection repeated his every movement, adding strange, invisible details. "What's wrong with you?" he muttered, barely audible, but his voice sounded strangely alien in the silence of the room. At that moment, a faint creak came from behind the door. Sam turned and saw a dark figure in the corner. It was as indistinct as smoke, but the outline of a man was discernible. The figure approached slowly, making no sound except for a quiet breathing that seemed to come from the darkness itself. Who are you?" he asked, his heart pounding in his chest. The only answer was a barely audible whisper. "Go ahead. Find the key." Sam felt a chill that seemed to penetrate his bones. He realized the shadow behind the door didn't mean him harm, but merely guided him. He looked at the mirror again and noticed a strange glowing symbol appear in the reflection, the same one he'd seen in Joseph's journal. Sam realized, to understand the mystery of the house, he needed to follow the symbols, follow the whispers, and trust those shadows that seemed dangerous. He headed toward the back room, the doors of which were closed. As he approached, the door opened of its own accord, as if inviting him in. Inside was a library filled with hundreds of old books and scrolls. The walls were covered with maps and charts, and an old lantern lay on one of the tables. Sam picked it up and noticed that the lantern's light cast thin lines of light in the air, like invisible paths that showed the way. He understood. The house wanted him to follow this path, to find the answer. And then the whispers grew louder, their words merging into one. Follow the light, discover forgotten rooms, discover the truth. Sam took a deep breath. He knew it would be dangerous, that he might encounter something he'd never seen or understood. But fear was mixed with curiosity and determination. He stepped forward into the corridor leading to another door, the most mysterious in the house. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper, every glance reflected in the mirror reinforced the feeling that he was approaching the heart of the secrets that the house had kept for centuries. Sam moved deeper into the house, feeling the shadows grow thicker and the whispers more insistent. He realized that every step led him towards secrets he couldn't ignore. The old mansion was no longer just an abandoned house. It had become a living being, breathing the past, the present, and something that couldn't be called present time. Old doors lined the hallway. Each one led to a room that seemed frozen in time. In one room, he saw a child's toy covered in dust, but the shadow of a child flickered next to it. In another room, letters lay on a table, seeming to whisper a story of love, separation, and loss. Sam stopped in front of a large door with carved symbols that were repeated throughout the house. He knew that behind this door lay the key to the mystery. Inserting his hand into the metal handle, he felt a chill run through his bones, and the whispers grew louder, turning into a muffled chorus of voices. Be brave. Don't stop. Keep going. The door slowly opened, revealing a labyrinth of corridors, narrow and winding, with rooms not on the house's plans. Each room hid its own secrets: old mirrors, books with worn pages, strange symbols on the walls, flickering in the lantern light. Sam realized the labyrinth was alive. The corridors changed direction, as if the house itself were deciding where to go. He realized it was easy to get lost here, but fear mingled with a strong desire to know the truth. In one room, he noticed a mirror that reflected not his face, but scenes from the past: Joseph Miller conducting strange experiments, a house filled with whispers and a shadow that moved of its own accord. Every movement of the reflection seemed real, and every scene a warning. It's all real, Sam muttered. The whispers turned into words. You're close. Almost there. Open your heart to the house, and it will reveal everything to you. Sam felt the power of the house drawing him in, testing his courage and resolve. He realized that the labyrinth was not just a physical space, but a test, a trial of the spirit. Every forgotten room, every shadow, every whisper, all part of the path to the mansion's deepest secret. He took a step forward and noticed a light at the end of the hallway, faint but steady. Sam's heart sank with anticipation. Beyond that light awaited him what he had feared and sought his whole life. With each step, the whispers grew clearer, and the shadows more tangible. The house whispered to him of loss, of fear, of the past, of those who had failed to complete the journey. But Sam knew he wasn't like that. He was ready to face the mystery hidden at the very heart of the labyrinth. And with this realization, he stepped into the light that beckoned him, promising to reveal all the house's mysteries and the answers to the questions that had haunted his family for generations. Sam approached the light at the end of the maze of corridors and found himself before a massive door adorned with carved patterns and strange symbols, the same ones he'd seen countless times throughout the house. The air around him was thick, as if the darkness itself were about to resist his presence. He paused for a moment, listening to the whispers, which now sounded almost like a single voice. Are you ready? This is the final step. Open the heart of the house. Sam felt his heart pounding in his chest, and a chill gripped his limbs. He took a deep breath and pushed the door. It creaked open, revealing a vast room with high ceilings and numerous mirrors. The lantern light reflected off the glass, creating the illusion of endless space. In the center of the room stood a table with Joseph's journal. Sam approached and read the last entry. "Whoever opens the heart of the house will see the truth. The shadow holds memories, but also fears the light. Only the brave can complete the journey." He realized this was the moment of truth. The house was no longer simply watching him, it was now demanding action. Sam took a step toward the mirror, and the shadow reappeared in the reflection, but this time it was clearer, a tall silhouette with empty eyes that followed his every move. "You came to complete what I could not," said a voice, low and muffled, coming from both the mirror and the house itself. Sam remembered everything he had seen in the labyrinth: whispers, symbols, strange reflections. He understood. The shadow meant him no harm, it sought closure, liberation. He raised the lantern, and the light revealed the symbols on the mirror, which began to glow. "I'm ready," he said confidently. The shadow moved toward him through the glass, but instead of fear, Sam felt a strange calm. He realized he must trust the house and follow the light. Slowly, step by step, he touched the mirror, simultaneously directing the lantern's light and his thoughts toward freeing the shadow. The room began to vibrate, the whispers grew louder, merging into a single hum, and the mirrors reflected not only the present but also the past: Joseph Miller, the house, the families who had lived here, and every moment that had become part of this place. Sam felt the house open its heart. The shadow froze, and then slowly began to dissipate, dissolving into light. The room grew brighter, the whispers faded, and a sense of release filled the air. He knew it wasn't over yet. The final mystery still awaited him to unravel, but now the way was open, and the shadow that had haunted the house for centuries had a chance to rest. Sam took a step back, looking around the room. He understood. The next step would lead him to the solution that would complete everything that had begun with his return to the old mansion. Sam took a deep breath and stepped into the center of the room of mirrors. The lantern's light cast strange shadows on the walls, and the whispers of the house, which had once seemed frightening, now turned into a quiet, almost friendly hum. He knew this was the moment of truth, the final encounter with the shadow that had held the mansion's memory for centuries. The figure appeared in the mirror before him again, tall, dim, with empty eyes that reflected his own fears. "You have come to complete the journey, to free me and the house," said the voice, simultaneously hoarse and quiet, as if emanating from the very heart of the mansion. Sam felt a chill penetrate his bones, but now the fear was replaced by determination. He recalled all the whispers, symbols, and reflections he had passed through, and he understood. The shadow was not an enemy, but a trapped memory waiting to be freed. He raised the lantern and shone the light directly into the center of the mirror. The symbols on the glass began to glow brighter, the reflections shimmered, and the shadow slowly moved toward him, as if reaching for the light. "I will help you," Sam whispered, focusing his intent on freeing the shadow. At that moment, the room filled with a swirl of light and shadow. The whispers became a single chorus, the mirror reflections blended into a whimsical kaleidoscope, and Sam felt the energy of the house permeate him. The shadow froze, then began to dissipate, its outlines dissolving, leaving behind only a faint shimmer. "Freedom!" A voice rang out, barely audible, and then vanished. The room became ordinary again. The mirrors reflected only Sam, the desk with the journal, and the empty walls. The air filled with lightness, and for the first time in many years, the house seemed alive, yet calm, free of the secrets and whispers that had shackled it for generations. Sam approached Joseph's journal and read the final lines. Whoever dared to enter, whoever walked through the whispers and shadows, freed the house. Thank you. Now the memory can fade, and the echoes of forgotten rooms become silence. He smiled, feeling the weight of the old house leave him. Every room, every mirror, every shadow, everything now found peace. Leaving the mansion for the fresh air, Sam looked back. The house no longer seemed frightening. It was part of a history that could now be remembered without fear. The shadows vanished, the whispers fell silent, and the echoes of forgotten rooms became a quiet reminder that courage and determination can free even the deepest secrets. Sam stepped down the path leading to the gate, feeling that history had ended, and the past and present had found peace. The house was left behind, but its memory remained forever in the heart of those who dared to hear its echoes.